Good morning and welcome to Business Africa Live on BTA. My name is Benjamin Afre, your host. This morning we'll be taking a look at Ghana's economic issues as well as some other business issues in Africa or the rest of the continent. We'll take a short break. When we come back, then I'll introduce my guests for this morning and we'll pick our discussions from there. Stay with us.
Here are some vacancies at Elmina in the Central Region. Electrical or Electronics and Process Engineer. The purpose for this position is to oversee all activities in the Electrical Electronic Engineering Department, including the strategic planning and implementation of new engineering practices and technologies for effective and efficient use of electricity and machinery to maximize productivity. Your duties and responsibilities will include the following: liaise with ECG on billing and fault issues to ensure good power intake and efficient power usage. Installation of new electrical or electronic equipment and machinery to standard. Planning all electrical maintenance schedules, both breakdown and preventive maintenance, to ensure minimal downtime on extruders, thermoformers, reclaimed shape molding machines, and other production equipment. Programming of AC and DC speed drives, programmable logic controls (PLCs), controllers and other programmable devices on extruders and thermoformers, and liaise with the production department to ensure smooth and efficient operation of machinery, among others. For the qualifications, a candidate must obtain a bachelor's degree in electrical or electronic engineering with a minimum of 10 years working experience. Candidates for the position must have a good educational background and extensive working experience in the polystyrene and/or polypropylene manufacturing industry. Send a curriculum vitae to eric.assign@ggfcghana.com for consideration. Job title: Mechanical Engineering Maintenance Manager. The main responsibility is to ensure that mechanically production equipment is in good working condition, which should be able to turn out good products. These include the following duties: mechanical troubleshooting on production equipment, extruders, thermoformers, shape molding machines, compressors, and other equipment. Planning maintenance schedules on production equipment. Planning and supervising machine repairs and modification. Installation of new equipment, and the design and fabrication and repairs of all product molds, among others. For the qualification and experience, candidates for the position must have at least City and Guilds Part 2 in mechanical engineering or its equivalent educational background with a minimum of 15 years working experience as a mechanical engineer with a reputable manufacturing company. The person must be comfortable maintaining air compressors, cooling chiller, cooling tower, high pressure gas pump, low pressure gas pumps, steam generation, hydraulics and pneumatics, preparing maintenance budgets, and any other mechanical works. Candidates must also be able to manage at least 10 subordinates. Send a CV to eric.assign@ggfcghana.com. eric.assign@ggfcghana.com.
Welcome back. Currently, Ghana is going through some difficulties and some challenges. And so even a decision to take some more money from the Eurobond has been suspended. There are some other issues in terms of oil, the prices going as high as $100 per barrel, and some other interesting developments on the banking sector. To the discussion with me this morning is Fred Avonyo, one of our usual guests, and I'm happy to have him in our studio this morning. Thank you.
Thank you too, and good to see you again.
Coming. Yes. Market conditions is forcing government to suspend the third Euro bond issue. You have situations where the current bond issue we have, the yield is rising, and for that matter, government has decided to suspend the decision to go back to the Euro market this year. What do you think really are accounting for this, and what impact will this have on some of the developmental projects that the government has outlined?
Well, I think, again, if you're going to borrow, you want to find out whether you're going to borrow at a rate that when you get the money and invest it in a project, the return will be higher than the interest.
So you can pay back.
You can pay back. If you realize that the interest rate is such that if you go and borrow and invest and what you get will be less, then you want to wait. Again, we know the international market, it goes up and it goes down.
Yep.
It's not a situation where it's consistently going up. So what I think government is doing is to wait and observe the market some more and see when you have a good rate, then probably they'll get into the market. So essentially that's what is happening. And again, the reasons why we're not getting the good rates, of course, there are the international issues of interest rates going up. A lot of particularly the emerging markets, they've inched up their prime rates to address their internal issues. So all of those impact on what happens on the international market. But again, more importantly, our own economic fundamentals are not looking good, because if somebody is going to buy a bond, they also look at what is happening locally and then price it. You know, you can sell, as you can raise all the money, but the people will go for it at a higher price.
The premium should be high.
The premium should be high. And so if you have inflation going up, if you have a weakening currency,
Interest rate going up.
and all of that, then again that will go into the pricing, or the price that people will be willing, will be demanded from you. To take the bond. So all of these are factors that influence what is happening currently. And from what I hear from the government side, so they want to wait and gauge, so that they get to the market at the right time. And I think it's happened to a few other African countries as well, where they wanted to go to the market, but they realized that no, the prices are not looking too good, so they want to come down. So I hope this will also tell us that let's work hard at addressing the fundamentals. You know, it's sad, because at a point in time in our history, when the government is working hard, and again, I'm not limiting to this government, because it's happened to the previous government and this one, that they've made attempts to work at stabilizing the economy. You hear the usual refrain, it's not inflation that we eat. You know, it's not this that we eat. You know, but they have direct impact on us. So I hope that, again, the right decisions should be taken to address these weaknesses and make sure that we have a much more stable, and then they'll be able to explain the decisions very well to the public, so that the public will go along with them to achieve the success.
But you see, when you have a situation where when people say, for example, that it's not inflation that will chop, or it's not interest rate that will chop, the understanding is that possibly people are not really seeing the effects of these on their living. If you are saying that inflation is going down, yes, it might look good on paper, but is it translating in real terms, in terms of the livelihood of the people? If it is not, they will look as if it's just on paper, but in reality, people are not enjoying that.
But it's not so. I think people are not feeling it because the situation that we have in Ghana is inflation low one year, inflation up the next year. When it's like that, you don't feel it, because, I mean, inflation is historic. It's telling about what has happened. So until we have a consistency of maybe at if it is 8% or 10% consistently for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you wouldn't see it. I mean, other jurisdictions, inflation is remained virtually below 3% for as long as you can remember. That's why you notice it. But when you have inflation up this year, down the next year, up the following year, down, then obviously you don't see the impact. And so people begin to complain that we are not seeing what you are telling us. But I mean,
the government was looking to raise this additional 1 billion to finance some of the maturing bills, as well as put it in some projects that they outlined in the budget. What happens then?
Now's the challenge, because particularly with the projects that you want to embark upon, it means you probably have to delay those projects, and they have all their implications, the political, social, and economic implications. And typically, when there are political implications, then government sometimes want to ignore the economic issues and then go get the money, let's do the project. But that doesn't help. So some projects probably will be held back. Now they would have to, for bills that have matured, they would have to find money to pay them. Yes, because those people they are redeeming, so you would have to find money to pay them. So that's the challenge.
Are you going to rely on external reserves then to pay for some of these?
Well, government will have to find a way of resolving that. I'm thinking that again, then we would have to see which areas you can touch to raise money. Already, our interest payments are going up because of the facilities that we've taken. So these are tight, difficult times, and we hope that the brains behind the economic management to put their thoughts together and see how they can quickly manage that.
We hope so, because otherwise it doesn't bode very well for us.
Yeah, but that is the challenge we've always had as a country. I say that, look, if I go back to my secondary school economic notes, I'm very sure that
find a solution.
Yes, the same thing, because we have not witnessed a deliberate structural change. I mean, today it's the services sector that is leading, but it happened by default, not so much because we wanted services to lead, because we've always been talking about, let us increase productivity, let us grow our industries, the manufacturing sector. That's what we've been pushing.
It's just been talk.
We've been talking about growing the manufacturing sector, but it turns out that the services sector is what is leading. It means that it happened. It didn't happen. It wasn't by plan that we have services leading.
Yeah.
It's like
by accident.
Yes.
We haven't really had any plan.
It is life going along its own path and then finding its way. So we need to address that fundamental problem. Our economy, the structure of our economy must change. Otherwise, we'll keep going around in circles.
Interestingly, yesterday, a comment by Dr. Baumia, during his lecture, was that, well, importing as high as we are saying might not necessarily be a problem if we can counter it with higher exports. So the imports might not be the issue, but then we are not doing anything to export. We are just exporting the raw materials, and so the price is even lower than what we could have.
It is true.
Achieved.
We need to increase our exports, and also we need to reduce our imports by improving on local production. That's the issue of the import substitution policy. Yeah. That we need to reduce our imports by getting local substitutes for what we import. But we also must produce to export. So those are things. And I mean, we know these facts. We've always known them. The challenge is implementing those programs.
The implementation.
Yeah,
in place. Well, Islamic banks, all over, we know that they don't, even though they take some interest or on their loans that they advance, they don't look at really making profit, but more or less breaking even. Yeah. Now you have 2 applications currently pending before the Bank of Ghana for 2 Islamic banks to come into operations. Do you think that their coming will make any serious impact in terms of access to credit facilities in the country?
I am not expecting a significant impact. I mean, there are 2 among the lots. There are 2 among the lots. No, the interest rates are determined by the fundamentals. What is happening to the economy? So they are not in to make losses. They must make profit. I mean, what they do? They would. I mean, what happens is with the Islamic banking system is when you go for a facility, you're not charged an interest rate sort of upfront. You invest, and then they charge you a percentage of the profits that you made on that facility. Okay. So again, So if the economy doesn't support a low interest rate regime, or we don't have that stability, it will impact on the activities, because the money that they're going to source will be affected unless they will consistently be taking money outside, not from within. But if they're going to get the money from within, then because they must meet their cost of fund.
Yeah.
And if the cost of fund is up, it will impact them adversely. So what we need to do to address the issue of interest rates is to have a very stable, let's keep inflation below 5% forever.
How are you going to do that?
Well, we should. We've been working at that. We come close and then we just take our leg off the paddle and then we go back. But we have to, and we have to get there and be there permanently. 5% and below. That's what we have to do. Yes. Otherwise, I mean,
do you think that is the optimal level?
Yeah, we should get there.
5%.
Yeah, we should stay there.
Level?
We should stay there. We should give ourselves a target. Maybe we should give ourselves a target of 5 years, 6 years. Now we'll get there. You know, I remember somewhere, I think in 2006, 2007, when the central bank said they had a name for it, a very interesting name of, as they were looking at getting inflation to below 8%. No, they were looking at the lower end or the middle lower end of single digit. And at the time when they made those projections, it was feasible. But guess what? Before we could get there, we had gone back. We're hitting 18%. You know, so we need to address that. It will be interesting to see the Islamic Bank come in, because again, maybe at least the way they do things, the ethical principles that they will introduce, and that might bring some excitement into the banking sector.
You know, Nigeria already has that system in place.
Yes.
I don't know. Have they really made any impact there?
It has not affected interest rates regime in Nigeria. What affected that place was decisions to stabilize the economy. That's what helped. What the former governor was trying to do and all of that, strengthen the banking system. So, but again, it's very useful. They come in. Let's see how they can affect some aspect of our banking system, particularly when there's the strong perception that our bankers are not making the extra effort. They're going the lazy way. So let's see, additional competition, let's see what that will bring to us.
You have Treasury bill going for 23%.
Yeah. The place to go and put your money there rather than
just go and sleep. Because there is virtually no risk to that.
Yes.
You know, so you might as well just put the
money there and go and sleep. That's why we need to bring Treasury bill rates to below 10%. We came to 9% not too long ago. Yeah. I mean, 2009, 2010, 2011, we were around that place. And then, as usual, we just went back.
Our old behaviors again. Oil prices has been flirting around 100%, $100 a barrel. $100 a barrel. Like yesterday, it traded between 99.38 and then $100. Mainly because there seems to be a problem with one of the channels that processes these things. So the anticipation is that it will continue for the rest of the week. Do you foresee any impact of this, for example, on our economy? You remember we do a 2-weekly price adjustment. Now because it's a 2-weekly price adjustment, and this is something that is a short-term issue, I would imagine that the Petroleum Authority here would not look at that as the reason. However, we know again our the exchange rate problems. If we take this factor and add it to what is happening to the CD and put it together, and the difference is significant, that will compel them to do price adjustment. Talking about that, interestingly, even though the Bank of Ghana has intervened in terms of the exchange market, we haven't really seen that much of an impact.
It slowed down the rate of depreciation.
It's depreciating, but
yes.
Slower rate.
No, but the CD has consistently depreciated every year. I mean, that is taken. You know, if you speak to the traders, they will tell you that, as for the CD, it will depreciate. The issue is the extent of depreciation. So every year the CD depreciates. That is guaranteed because of.
But the rate is quite high.
Yes.
We've done 2% before. We've done 4% before. We've done 6%. That is year. But now
those I'm sure those were the years when the HIPIC area where we're compelled to be disciplined.
Even as late as 2011, 2010.
No,
They were not
year.
as high. They were
not as high as this, but no. Yeah, no. They were.
No,
they were.
They were between 4 and 6%.
That's in 2010.
Between 2010, 2011. Yes, they were not that high.
Okay, yeah, 2010,
Because
2011.
remember,
Yes, that's when again when we're
the lower
inflation rates.
Well.
Yes, when we're stabilizing.
There.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks a problem to me. Why do we always have to wait till there is this problem, then we intervene? Maybe
again, at the time we also we had gone back to the IMF. So again, we're holding us. I mean, it's like anytime we have the cane behind and we are compelled to be good boys, we do that. As soon as we take it off, then we start misbehaving. So it's a very sad. But again, on this issue of, because I'm sure if the price on the world market continues to go up, the MPA will be compelled to review prices, and then people will come out criticizing and all of that. Now, if we complain so loudly that government is forced to subsidize, the price we pay for that in the future will be very serious. I think we should, as a country, start talking about an effective public transport system, so that I have the option, if fuel prices are high, to park my car and join a bus or join a train. That way, government will have the free hand to allow the fuel price to go because you can park your car. In fact, in a lot of the countries, people park their cars and use the public transport.
It's actually a cheaper
yes.
of going around. So
I think that is where the focus should be. We should have an effective public transport. Again, we made an attempt. That was a joke anyway. Look at what we have.
With the bus transit
Yes.
system.
Yes.
That's what they said.
That was also supposed to. You see, again, eventually it's ended up as a road, a portion of a road that was redone. That's all. So our biggest challenge has been.
It's interesting you're talking about this subsidy issue, because Nigeria, they are spending 1.3 trillion naira on petroleum subsidies alone.
Yeah.
And it is a serious threat to their economy.
Yes.
And we are just about doing the same thing.
You know, and Nigeria they've had that problem for a very long time. And at a point, I think 2 or 3 years ago, they decided to say, look, let's start paying realistic price. And there was total confusion. Total confusion. Yes, total confusion.
Yeah.
But you see, it's affecting the country. And so, I mean, the issue of subsidies would have to, and people will have to understand that really, there's really nothing called subsidy. It is your money, it is your more money, which probably was being used to construct a school, that is now being used to pay for fuel. So it's a decision you want to take, whether you want to use that money to build a school or to pay for fuel that is even being used by people who have a lot of money and are driving the very big vehicles and consuming a lot.
Have a lot of money. You have government people driving all the bigger cars in the country, consuming all the bigger fuels in the country. You know. Well, Nigeria has been put on a credit stable outlook by S&P. Originally, they were BB, even though they haven't downgraded them. But S&P is thinking that their fundamentals are not strong enough.
Yeah.
However, you have the Nigerian Minister for Finance also saying that cannot be the situation. Because, you know, last year in October, they were downgraded to a BB minus in October. And they have been put on a stable outlook now. But the minister is also saying that between October and now, there's been some serious gains on the macroeconomic environment. So why would they be putting them into that situation?
I think people have had issues with Standards and Poor for a while now.
And it's from somewhere to be doing some of those things.
I mean, what do? They get people to go and collect data, and they analyze the data and do their projections, really. So if the collection of the data itself has challenges, then the outcome will have challenges.
Well, that is what they are claiming.
Yes.
That information to new data on Nigeria is not forthcoming.
Okay.
But then the minister was saying that cannot be the case. Maybe they haven't contacted the right people.
People to do the work for them.
Yes.
So these are all issues. In fact, that's why sometimes I think the kind of emphasis we place on the views, because these are essentially views of these institutions, the S&P.
Yeah.
It's their view of what they have observed.
Unfortunately,
We should.
Serious
People look at them. Yeah, of course,
but
but people look at them, but not in isolation.
Okay.
They look at their views. They look at what the IMF is also saying. They look at what other institutions are saying, and then they take a decision. And really, I had an opportunity of interacting with people at S&P at the head office, and when I was telling them the kind of controversy and fury that it creates anytime their findings are released in Ghana, they were shocked because, but this is their opinion they've expressed. It's for you to look at it and see what you can do with it. It shouldn't result to another world war. But sadly, that's what happens.
It has serious implications when you're going to borrow. People look at what S&P thinks about you, what Fitch, what Moody's think
what
about you,
IMF and all other institutions. Yes,
before they will even
give you that. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So they don't take just one. And there have been situations where the two, even particularly the Fitch and S&P, they've had conflicting views. And it's based on the data that they get. In fact, if the data is even exaggerated positively, it will give a positive rating for a country. So all of these are all factors that we should consider. To me, you want to see what they're saying. In fact, even the rating is the last figure. What led to that rating are the key things you want to look at and see how you can address.
That's what we should be concerned about.
You can address them.
Well, still in Nigeria, the Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Samuel Ortom, said that Nigeria is still the continent's #1 destination for investors. Is it really?
That's a sad thing when I read that, because I said, that was supposed to be our mantra, isn't it? But look, Nigeria has done very well for itself. I mean, if you look back some 20 years ago, regardless of the size of Nigeria, it was Ghana. I mean, Ghana appeared like this, the tiny big brother. But you can't say that today. Today, in fact, we call Nigeria our big brother, because consistently they've tried to do certain things right, and they are moving. Now, as I said, they are attracted. They have the market, so obviously that even draws a lot of investment, and they are improving on the infrastructure very rapidly. They are bringing in a lot of. They are stabilizing. They are trying to stabilize their power system, which was a major challenge that they have. So Nigeria is taking some decisions that are helping.
But there's still that perception of corruption being very rife in Nigeria.
It exists, but it is an improvement of what it used to be.
What about this issue or this challenge of Boko Haram?
Yes, I think that's a major challenge that Nigeria would have to deal with. It's a major issue.
Investing, especially up north.
Yes,
in Nigeria.
I think what has helped them is because the attacks, to some extent, have been limited to the northeastern part. But the moment it starts spreading to other parts, then there will be a challenge. That's a huge challenge that they have. Otherwise, I'm sure the kind of industries they'll be roping into that country will be very, very, very significant.
Let's take a quick break. We'll take a short break. We'll be back.
Here are some vacancies at Elmina in the Central Region. Electrical or electronics and process engineer. The purpose for this position is to oversee all activities in the electrical, electronic engineering department, including the strategic planning and implementation of new engineering practices and technologies for effective and efficient use of electricity and machinery to maximize productivity. Your duties and responsibilities will include the following: liaise with ECG on billing and fault issues to ensure good power intake and efficient power usage. Installation of new electrical or electronic equipment and machinery to standard. Planning all electrical maintenance schedules, both breakdown and preventive maintenance, to ensure minimal downtime on extruders, thermoformers, reclaimed shape molding machines, and other production equipment. Programming of AC and DC speed drives, programmable logic controls PLCs, controllers and other programmable devices on extruders and thermoformers, and liaise with the production department to ensure smooth and efficient operation of machinery, among others. For the qualifications, a candidate must obtain a bachelor's degree in electrical or electronic engineering with a minimum of 10 years working experience. Candidates for the position must have a good educational background and extensive working experience in the polystyrene and/or polypropylene manufacturing industry. Send a curriculum vitae to eric.assign@ggfcghana.com for consideration. Job title: Mechanical Engineering Maintenance Manager. The main responsibility is to ensure that mechanically production equipment is in good working condition, which should be able to turn out good products. These include the following duties: mechanical troubleshooting on production equipment, extruders, thermoformers, shape molding machines, compressors, and other equipment. Planning maintenance schedules on production equipment, planning and supervising machine repairs and modification, installation of new equipment, and the design and fabrication and repairs of all product molds, among others. For the qualification and experience, candidates for the position must have at least City and Guilds Part 2 in mechanical engineering or its equivalent educational background with a minimum of 15 years working experience as a mechanical engineer with a reputable manufacturing company. The person must be comfortable maintaining air compressors, cooling chiller, cooling tower, high-pressure gas pump, low-pressure gas pumps, steam generation, hydraulics and pneumatics, preparing maintenance budgets, and any other mechanical works. Candidates must also be able to manage at least 10 subordinates. Send a CV to eric.assign@ggfcghana.com. eric.assign@ggfcghana.com.
Welcome back. Let's go to South Africa, where the rand seemed to be holding steady, against the dollar. At least yesterday's trading, for example, it held at 10.82 to the dollar. That was as of yesterday. Do you think that it could be, bouncing back a little bit? Because it's been sliding against the dollar for a while now.
Yeah.
So this could be more like a welcome news to watchers of the rand.
Yeah, I think South Africa also suffered the challenge that the emerging economies suffered when investors decided to go back to the advanced economies because those economies were picking up. So the rand suffered as much as some other currencies during the beginning of the year, and where decisions were reviewing their rates to try to fight that. It appears that is somehow working for them. If you listen to the analysts in South Africa, they are not comfortable yet. I still think there are still challenges that must be addressed. So they are working on that. They even raised the issue of labor, the various labor agitations.
Labor agitation.
They are all impacting on them.
Yeah, so the platinum industry, also the gold.
So those are still challenges that they are confronted
to work with.
But again, South Africa is a strong economy, so
if you look at South Africa's economy, they are more integrated in the global affairs more than Ghana, probably more than Nigeria, even though Nigeria is also a very big market. So you would possibly, accept some of these things happening. Also, when there are issues with labor agitation, for most of their productive sectors, yes. But if you look at some of us, Ghana, for example, we are not that integrated into the external markets.
No.
So I look at, if their rand is weakening, you could have plausible, external reasons why. But can we say the same?
No, I've had, because that excuse was given where we were mentioning the links of Turkey.
Yes.
We really don't fit into that bracket.
Not at all.
We are the lower end of that emerging market bracket. So that was it. Our issue has been
more for the economic fundamentals.
Trade deficit issues that we have to address. So let's try and fix that. Let's take the right decisions to increase production.
And you see what we're saying, still on South Africa, the platinum strike is causing serious damage to the economy. Already, they've lost almost $1 billion because of the strike. What really can South Africa do? Because it is not with only the platinum industry, the gold industry has also suffered the same fate. What really can be done?
There's a strong feeling that the labor regime there is having adverse impact on investment.
Yes.
Investment.
Yes.
And, I think the South African labor also has a history, a bit like ours in the early days of independence, where they are an integral part of the ruling government. I mean, the labor is so much a part of the ANC.
That's true.
Government.
That's true.
So it's such a strong political entity. Now they're having some challenges. They're having some internal issues. Some are breaking away. There are splinter groups coming out and all of that. But I think increasingly, the issue is for labor to move away from that confrontational stance to one of dialogue. Because you can also see and understand the figures that the owners are churning out and say, look, based on these figures, this is a fair price you should give us, or this is a fair deal you should give us. Rather than just close your eyes to the reality and then get onto the street. Because it affects both the company and
then you have situations where it might not be a fair justification, but situations where you have the top bosses taking extremely fat bonuses or salaries. And then if you look at the gap between them and those who are actually on the shop floor, they're so wide. So sometimes there is that,
but that's a generic issue. It cuts across everywhere. I mean, you have cases where the bonus paid to companies in the West, companies that are suffering, that are either recording reductions in their profits, are getting higher bonuses. Again, it depends on what you negotiated for. You see, and a lot of the times, people up the ladder negotiate for their salaries compared to people below the ladder who are virtually given what they are going to be paid. You are told that this is what we'll pay you. The boss, a middle-level upper person, is allowed to negotiate. For and they put in all kinds of incentives, and that builds up there. So that issue is there. But again, if you have an effective HR system, a proper assessment system, a proper appraisal system, so that when there's an increase in your own output, it impacts on your salary. I think it would be helpful. Even in Ghana's case, there was a case like that when I think there was an Asian company wanted to set up a textiles manufacturing company, and they moved out because they thought the impression they had was that the Ghanaian labor was too expensive, was less productive, and too they were too aggressive. So they decided to move out, and that's one of the things that influenced the introduction of our new labor law. And when you see that labor law, it's so much tilted towards the interest of the employees, of the employer, and that has even made it very difficult for us to implement. So, we also have a similar challenge here. But I think labor should move away. Like currently, the situation that we have, we are told that we are in very dire circumstances. If we decide to increase salaries of public sector workers based on this single spine, our economy will run into difficulty. But then the initial stance for labor was not, look, if you say you are going to freeze, then we'll fight you. If you say you are not going to increase, we'll fight you. That doesn't work.
But can you blame
Now
labor?
I think they are moving away from that.
But can you
now
blame
they are
them
calling
when
for
they are seeing huge hikes in taxes all around? They are seeing inflation at an all-time. I won't say all-time high, but interest rates are high. Can you blame them?
Egg and chicken situation because these high interest rates and hikes in taxes were occasioned by some expenditure that was done in the past. Government is claiming that a chunk of that went into wage payment. I think the way we managed the single spine thing, it didn't help us. We should have spread that over a period of time so that the impact. So we paid so much, we got broke, so we have to find money by increasing taxes and all of that.
So effectively managed
so we've gone round. We got the increase, it got eroded by inflation.
But look, coming back, you realize also that there's a lot of wastage in the system. At the end of every year, there are a lot of leakages. Okay, you can talk about ghosts, what do we call them? Ghost employee names and all those things. Is it not the right time? I'm looking at two things. Is it not the right time now to clean up our books in terms of employees? Look, by the use of biometrics.
Yes.
That is one. But secondly also, look at situations where we can, in our own way, plug some of these loopholes that we have in terms of where the monies go. I think if we can do that and probably also demand more productivity from our employees. If we are paying you this much, then you should be able to deliver this much. I am looking at a situation where we're able to agree on some of those things to help. Because if you look at the situation in South Africa, 8 weeks they've been on strike. 8 weeks. Yeah. Within that period, they've lost close to $1 billion. I mean, how then does a company survive on that?
That is true. And sadly, again, because before we started the implementation of the single spine, in fact, at the point that we were drafting that policy, the main thing was for what we literally call equal pay for equal work, sort of. So that we're going to tell you that, look, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is how much we'll pay you. If your productivity comes down, your salary should drop. But somehow along the line, we just gave it a very... We just forgot about that focus and gave it the impression as if single spine was about salary increase. Well, so we forgot about now. The last time I heard the commission saying that, after they are done with the implementation, then they'll go to the other side of the productivity of the person. No, it doesn't work that way. So we are hurting ourselves, and we have to. Sadly, again, sometime back when we were doing the public sector reforms, so some of the things we were supposed to do, we were supposed to. There was supposed to be a clocking system to ensure productivity. There was supposed to be all kinds of systems were to be put in place.
None of them was implemented.
They started, they rose against it, and politicians as usual.
It's unfortunate because there are, for me, whether Ghana or the rest of the continent, there are some basic things that we can do within a very short time that would significantly impact positively on our economies, like what you're saying. People go to the offices, maybe out of the 8 hours they have, effectively they work for like 2 hours. The rest of that they are chatting or they are doing something else. So we don't get the kind of productivity we are looking for. And that is why I think we should be going some proper job audit so that we can match your productivity to what we've agreed on as your performance indicators. And then we pay you accordingly.
Yes.
Until we are able to go towards those lines, I wonder if we can make any headways.
And our wage system too must encourage you to work hard. If you earn more when you work hard, I'm sure everybody will be compelled to do that.
It's a serious... well, let's go to Zambia, where the Zambian economy owes IMF as high as $387 million. That's very high.
Yeah.
If you take an economy like that of Zambia, that kind of debt is high. Is it that they haven't utilized the loans effectively?
I'm sure, like the typical African economy, you always have issues about efficient application
management of the loans
or application of the facilities that we get. And already they're also having challenges with their exports. So I'm sure it's also impacting them on the ability to service all kinds of facilities. Typically with the IMF, I'm sure they'll get in there and then give them a new plan to try to stabilize.
This is
very
the,
pinchy.
the special drawing rights.
Yeah.
You know, and do you even think they will be able to pay back, or you think they'll probably restructure?
They would have to restructure
the loan,
the facility. I'm sure that will result in a lot of drastic, austere measures and the usual complaints to follow and all of that. It's a difficult situation. It all boils down to productivity and efficiency in whatever we do. And if we apply that, the countries that were able to achieve that significant growth were efficient.
This is a serious
and were very productive.
It keeps repeating itself.
It's the same thing. We keep going around. We keep going around in circles. Yes, and
it happens today. Tomorrow happens.
Then it gets better. Then we fall back into it. And again, I think the way we also play our politics is also. Yeah, I mean, in situations where you partisan politics takes place every single day throughout.
Almost
we should be building a country now, and then when you're in an election year,
you can talk about politics.
That? Because
it seems everything, from morning to evening, everything anybody says, somebody will look at it in a political way.
So we don't look. For instance, when Dr. Kutiosa said that we should trim the labor force and everything.
People took him on. But in truth,
we know we need that. We know we need that. In fact, what he's saying is just reechoing something that we already know. But who is going to take that risk?
That's a serious because
the moment you go,
the next election.
Yes, the labor itself will tell you that 2016 is coming. I mean, how do you rule a country like that?
I see. Well, in the course of last week, Zambia, the government in Zambia also decided to revoke some of their statutory instruments, for example, to help them mitigate a higher risk of the widening fiscal deficit in the country's economy. Some have welcomed that, especially if you look at a situation where, earlier they had banned the use of foreign currency, as we did in their country. So you don't have to use only the kwacha, which is their currency. But they've revoked all those things so that people can now easily, trade with the currencies. What do you think? Do you actually think that this would impact positively on the economy? The reversal of some of these decisions, yes.
I mean, each country and the challenges that you have and how you want to address them. Probably when they try that, we're not getting the results, so they want to reverse it. In other countries, they've kept to it, and it's worked for them. Again, if you live in a country where, because what warrants this? This is warranted because of the depreciation of the local currency. Yes, if it's depreciating that fast, that it makes it difficult for you to plan. Then you want to index it to a stable system. So then you start quoting in dollars. Just to so you can have something to plan with.
Some stability.
So if you say no, stick to don't dollarize, or so to speak. But then the fundamentals, the problems are still there. It's like window dressing essentially.
But you see, Zambia too has suffered because of copper prices. The demand from China has gone down drastically, and the prices haven't helped. So that has also somehow, if you look at the expected revenue, it's gone down significantly.
Yes,
it brings my mind back to a situation where we depend so much on just about one commodity, and when there's a problem, then we are complaining. Ghana depends solely on cocoa, now oil. But the moment there's a problem with price on cocoa, if it drops, then the economy is in very difficult situations.
And when you watch the trend, that's usually what happens. Typically, the days or the period that we seem to be doing well as an economy are the times that the commodity prices are enjoying boom, the commodity prices. So then we said that, we are doing well. Well, really? It's just one the price. We are getting good gold prices, we are getting good cocoa prices, and so that is supporting us. And then when the situation turns, then we see the impact. And so that is why, and we already know that we need to move away from depending on those traditional exports. Once upon a time, when we brought about this whole issue of non-traditional exports, that was the brain behind it. That we diversify. We go into those areas as well as diversify our markets.
That's true.
But again, the implementation has always been a challenge. So I'm sure in their case now, I'm very sure they will take decisions to see how we can diversify our exports.
No, that's exactly what the Minister of Finance is saying.
Yes.
There's a need to do more in terms of the non-traditional exports, so that you don't have to depend on only copper, but some other things as well. And I'm sure that is what the rest of us will have to
If
look
they'll
at.
stick to that, that'll be fine. But I'm sure 2 years, 3 years down the line,
We'll come back to the same situation.
Talking about copper prices.
Thank you for joining us on our show this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you
Most welcome
on our show this morning. Viewers, so that's the end of our review session for today. Keep watching Business Africa Live on BTA. I tell you, we are the business TV of your choice. My name is Benjamin Afre, and I've been your host. Have a good day, and see you tomorrow.
Here are some vacancies at Elmina in the Central Region. Electrical or Electronics and Process Engineer. The purpose for this position is to oversee all activities in the Electrical, Electronic Engineering Department, including the strategic planning and implementation of new engineering practices and technologies for effective and efficient use of electricity and machinery to maximize productivity. Your duties and responsibilities will include the following: liaise with ECG on billing and fault issues to ensure good power intake and efficient power usage. Installation of new electrical or electronic equipment and machinery to standard. Planning all electrical maintenance schedules, both breakdown and preventive maintenance, to ensure minimal downtime on extruders, thermoformers, reclaimed shape molding machines, and other production equipment. Programming of AC and DC speed drives, programmable logic controls PLCs, controllers, and other programmable devices on extruders.
Welcome back. Currently, Ghana is going through some difficulties and some challenges. And so, even a decision to take some more money from the Eurobond has been suspended. There are some other issues in terms of oil, the price is going as high as $100 per barrel, and some other interesting developments on the banking sector. To the discussion with me this morning is Fred Avonyo, one of our usual guests, and I'm happy to have him in our studio this morning. Thank you.
Thank you too, and good to see you again.
Coming. Yes. Market conditions is forcing government to suspend the third Euro bond issue. You have situations where the current bond issue we have, the yield is rising, and for that matter, government has decided to suspend the decision to go back to the Euro market this year. What do you think really are accounting for this, and what impact will this have?
2 in mechanical engineering or its equivalent educational background with a minimum of 15 years working experience as a mechanical engineer with a reputable manufacturing company. The person must be comfortable maintaining air compressors, cooling chiller, cooling tower, high pressure gas pump, low pressure gas pumps, steam generation, hydraulics and pneumatics, preparing maintenance budgets, and any other mechanical works. Candidates must also be able to manage at least 10 subordinates. Send a CV to eric.assign@ggfcghana.com. eric.assign@ggfcghana.com.
Good morning and welcome to Business Africa Live on BTA. My name is Benjamin Afre, your host. This morning we'll be taking a look at Ghana's economic issues as well as some other business issues in Africa or the rest of the continent. We'll take a short break. When we come back, then I'll introduce my guests for this morning and we'll pick our discussions from there. Stay with us.
And thermoformers, and liaise with the production department to ensure smooth and efficient operation of machinery, among others. For the qualifications, a candidate must obtain a bachelor's degree in electrical or electronic engineering with a minimum of 10 years working experience. Candidates for the position must have a good educational background and extensive working experience in the polystyrene and or polypropylene manufacturing industry. Send a curriculum vitae to eric.assign@ggfcghana.com for consideration. Job title: Mechanical Engineering Maintenance Manager. The main responsibility is to ensure that mechanically production equipment is in good working condition, which should be able to turn out good products. These include the following duties: mechanical troubleshooting on production equipment, extruders, thermoformers, shape molding machines, compressors and other equipment. Planning maintenance schedules on production equipment. Planning and supervising machine repairs and modification. Installation of new equipment and the design and fabrication and repairs of all product molds, among others. For the qualification and experience, candidates for the position must have at least City and Guilds Part